Today we go over the Star Wars franchise when it comes to writer and director Rian Johnson of The Last Jedi. This is Mike Zero here. If you guys are new to the channel, do make sure to subscribe to see future Star Wars content. Now, ever since December of 2017, there's been a lot of criticism going against The Last Jedi, a lot of backlash, and it has been growing ever since the beginning of 2018 until this very point in time, to the point where Disney and Lucasfilm have now completely recognized that the backlash seems as so to be a whole lot more than just a minority. And I think that they do realize that it's the hardcore fans that purchase the merchandise, it's the hardcore fans that see these movies 4, 5, maybe even sometimes 6 times, maybe even more than that. And looking at what Rian Johnson had to say on Twitter in a response to how, criticism should be handled for a filmmaker and how he sees criticism on everything, and this is what Rian Johnson had to say. So he states, "Do you think critics' reviews are meant for, or useful for, in parentheses, filmmakers? Spoiler alert, I do not," he goes on to say. "Interesting. See, my view is that all criticism is more about the critic than the movie, but that's what makes it interesting. For me, it's like any other type of writing. I love getting inside an interesting person's mind, via their reaction to a movie. I don't read criticism as Consumer Report style buying advice, but as personal essays." So, as you saw there in the last piece by Rian Johnson, that's how he sees criticism, alright? So he sees criticism essentially as not like a Consumer Report style buying advice, but as personal essays. Now, one thing that I do want to point out with The Last Jedi, a couple of things that I think Rian Johnson should have absolutely changed or included. I think that he really should have stayed true more to The Force Awakens and really kept a lot of the continuity embedded in his own movie. Now, if you look at The Force Awakens, there are a lot of unanswered questions, which apparently J.J. Abrams will be answering since he's back for Episode 9. And it only makes one wonder, what would have happened if Colin Trevorrow stayed on board? Would JJ's, questions in The Force Awakens have never been answered? To me, I think that the biggest ones that really, really bug me and really make me wonder are, why did we hear Obi-Wan Kenobi's voice in Rey's vision? What was really the significance of that? And if it was really just to throw his voice in there for the heck of it, I don't know, guys. I don't think that was a great move. The other thing is, exactly why did the lightsaber call to Rey? Exactly why did the Skywalker call to Rey? The other thing is, of course, exactly where did Maz Kanata find the Skywalker lightsaber? And the other thing is that Rian Johnson changed the concept of the flashback sequences. Now, in The Force Awakens, the flashbacks were done in the form of a vision where Rey touched the Skywalker lightsaber for the very first time, and she gets sucked into the past, leading into the present and future, it seems, all mixed in there, in or around. And a lot of people are starting to think that that sequence that we saw of the Knights of Ren and Kylo Ren could have very well been a flash forward to Episode 9. And it may actually make a lot of sense now, because we have been hearing about all these different casting, pieces that there's like a group of male actors in their 20s working with Adam Driver for Episode 9. Everybody assumes that they are to be the Knights of Ren since J.J. Abrams created them from the very start. Why not bring them back for the very last movie in this trilogy? It only makes sense. So I just wish Rian Johnson carried all these little things from The Force Awakens into The Last Jedi. The other thing is that I think Canto Bight should have been completely, either replaced or altered if Rian Johnson was writing the script. I think he really could have, if he really wanted to, double or even triple checked to see how long that sequence was in comparison to the Luke and Rey training scene. Because if you guys ask me, I think that the amount of time that we spent at Canto Bight could have very well been all the time that Luke would be training Rey and giving her guidance and advice, telling her stories, showing more flashbacks, giving us a better idea, a more vivid idea of how Ben Solo turned to the dark side visually than just, the hut and, Luke Skywalker getting buried by the rubble of the hut. I think it would have been amazing if we actually got to see Kylo Ren slaughtering Luke Skywalker's new generation of Jedi. Tons of lightsabers going up against one man, Kylo Ren, by use of his blue lightsaber at the time. And that's another thing that a lot of people are getting very confused about, is that in that sequence you do see Kylo Ren, or should I say Ben Solo at the time, with a blue lightsaber. It's not Anakin's, it's actually Kylo's very own lightsaber that was handed down to him, most likely by Luke. He actually probably had him build it, and once he turned, he modified it into the crossguard that you all know and love today. Now, as far as Rian Johnson goes, you know, visually speaking, the movie does stick out. It is really, really good when it's, you know, looked at in a cinematic way. You know, the cinematography is dead on. But it's just a lot of the story elements in The Last Jedi are just so disappointing to me personally, and just, I don't know, guys. I think it could have been 100 times better if they really wanted to go through the way of giving Luke Skywalker a lot of action and justice and making us truly understand exactly what happened in the past with Luke, Ben, Leia, and even Han. I think that, you know, the training between Luke and Rey could have very well been extended, and they could have included the Knights of Ren, and perhaps even kept Supreme Leader Snoke alive. That character grew on me so much, Snoke, that, well, I gotta tell you guys, I liked him almost as Palpatine until he was killed off by Kylo, and I think that's why a lot of the fans out there got upset about that. And it's okay, by the way, if you guys are, you know, cool about Snoke getting killed off so early. I can understand that, the creators of The Last Jedi, including Rian Johnson, they wanted to create shock value, it seems. But you know what? At the end of the day, I think that when it comes to just plain old shock value, I think that there really has to be a true meaning to it. Now sure, Kylo Ren killed Snoke to become Supreme Leader of the First Order, but I feel like that there could have been better surprises in this movie that were far more unexpected than that. After all, I mean, it was somewhat expected. I mean, usually the apprentices kill their masters, right? Am I wrong? This always happens. I mean, we saw a great example of this with Darth Vader at the very end of Return of the Jedi. But keep in mind, that was the third movie. But anyways, guys, let me know what you think about Rian Johnson's view on criticism and how he handles it, etc. And let me know what you think about The Last Jedi and what you would have actually rather to see in that movie in comparison to what we have now. Anyways, guys, if you enjoyed this video, do make sure to drop a thumbs up on this video to support the channel. I thank you all so very much for the kind support, and I'll catch you guys next time.